All right, let's talk about one of the biggest books on personal development ever written. We're diving into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People to break down the principles that have literally changed millions of lives.
You ever look at someone and just wonder, how do they get it all done? Is it just pure luck, raw talent? Well, Stephen Covey would say no. The secret, he argues, isn't about learning some quick life hacks. It's about a much deeper change, rebuilding your character from the inside out.
And that brings us to this really core idea. See, most of us get caught up in what he calls the personality ethic. The surface level stuff, how we look, our communication tricks, our public image. But Covey says real, lasting success comes from the character ethic. That's the stuff deep down, your integrity, your humility, your courage. It's about who you really are, not just the version of you that you show to the world. So, how do you build that character? Well, Covey lays out a whole new way of looking at personal growth. He says effectiveness isn't something you just achieve overnight. Nope, it's a journey, a deliberate path with very clear stages. He calls this path the maturity continuum, and it makes so much sense when you see it. We all start out in dependence, right? As kids, we rely on others for everything. That's the you phase. The goal for a lot of society is independence. I can do it myself. But Covey says the highest, most effective level is actually interdependence. That's the we phase, where we realize that by working together, we can achieve way more than we ever could alone. But here's the catch. You can't get to that we stage without first mastering the I stage. You have to win the battle with yourself before you can win with others. This is what he calls the private victory, and it's built on the first 3 habits. It all starts with habit 1, be proactive. This is so much more than just taking initiative. It's about realizing you are in charge. Think about it like this. We all have a huge circle of concern, all the things we worry about, the economy, politics, what other people think. Reactive people live there. But proactive people, they focus their energy on their much smaller circle of influence, the things they can actually do something about. Their attitude, their choices, their actions. That's where the power is. Man, this quote just hits you, doesn't it? It perfectly sets up habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. It forces you to ask a tough question. Is the ladder you're climbing so frantically leaning against the right wall? This habit is all about deciding what's truly important to you, your values, your goals, so you don't wake up one day at the top, realizing you're in the wrong place. And that leads us to habit 3, put first things first. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's about living out habits 1 and 2 every single day. The key is this matrix. Most of us live in quadrant I, constantly putting out fires or, let's be honest, a lot of time in quadrant 3, dealing with things that feel urgent but are actually just other people's priorities. But effective people, they discipline themselves to live in quadrant 2. They focus on what's important but not yet urgent. Think planning, relationship building, exercising. This is the quadrant of quality, and it's a total game changer. Okay, so once you've gotten your own house in order with that private victory, you are ready for the next level, the public victory. This is where you move from I to we. This is all about building deep, effective relationships using habits 4, 5, and 6. Habit 4 is a complete paradigm shift. Think win-win. It's about rejecting the idea that for me to win, you have to lose. Instead, you operate from what Covey calls an abundance mentality. You genuinely believe there's plenty of success, credit, and happiness to go around. It's not about your piece of the pie versus my piece. It's about figuring out how to bake a bigger pie together. Now, getting to win-win isn't easy. It takes real maturity. You have to have the courage to state what you want and need, but also the consideration to respect what the other person wants and needs. It's a tough balance, but it's absolutely essential. So how on earth do you find those win-win solutions? Well, it all starts with habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And this isn't just about being quiet while the other person talks. No, this is about empathic listening. It's about listening with the genuine intent to understand their perspective, to see the world through their eyes. As Covey puts it, you have to diagnose before you prescribe. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? We've all been there. Someone is talking, but we're not really listening. We're just in our own heads, formulating our brilliant response, waiting for them to take a breath so we can jump in. Habit 5 is the discipline to shut that voice down and just listen. So when you have people who are thinking win-win, and they're truly seeking to understand each other, that's when the magic happens. That's habit 6, Synergize. This is where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's not my way or your way. It's finding a third way, a better way that neither of you could have come up with on your own.
It's creative cooperation at its absolute best. All right, we've covered 6 habits, but there's one more. And honestly, this last one is the habit that makes all the others possible. It's the habit of renewal. Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. Imagine a woodcutter sawing for hours, getting more and more frustrated as his saw gets duller. When you tell him to stop and sharpen it, he says, "I can't, I'm too busy sawing." Sounds ridiculous, right? But we do it all the time. We get so busy doing that we forget to maintain our greatest asset, ourselves. This habit is about taking the time to renew the 4 key dimensions of your life: your body, your mind, your heart, and your spirit. So what does this all add up to? The most important thing to remember is that these habits are not a checklist you finish once. They are a framework for a life of constant improvement, what Covey beautifully calls the upward spiral. See, true effectiveness isn't a destination you arrive at. It's this upward spiral. Every time you practice these principles, you do it from a slightly higher plane. You learn more, you grow more, and you become more effective. It's a lifelong journey of getting better and better. And the process that keeps you moving up that spiral is beautifully simple. You learn a principle, you make a genuine commitment to live by it, and then you go out and you do it. Learn, commit, do. That's the engine for growth. So let's do a quick recap. What's the path? Be proactive and take charge. Have a mission that guides you. Prioritize what's truly important. Always seek for mutual benefit. Listen before you speak. Cooperate creatively with others, and never forget to renew yourself every single day. In the end, just knowing about these habits doesn't change a thing. The real power comes from putting them into practice. So the real question for you is, which one of these habits are you going to start working on today?